My name is Kelly Wright, and one ethical dilemma that I found myself facing in today's world, especially as a college student and as a girl, is the debate on whether or not to buy from fast fashion sites. And to me, this is a debate I face because as a college student trying to save money but also be able to keep up with current trends and be able to get clothes for different events that I need to, fast fashion brands tend to be more affordable, but they do have a lot of negative connotations, including labor exploitation and environmental damage. So for my video essay today, I'm going to be looking at the different theories to see if purchasing and supporting from these brands is considered ethical. The first ethic that I'm going to be looking at is deontology. So this is an ethic that was created by Immanuel Kant, which focuses on a few major principles such as moral duties, the principle of universality, the categorical imperative, and respect for all persons. So when thinking about fast fashion and looking at duties and thinking about a human's moral duty towards other people, Kant has a large focus on not using another individual as a means to an end, meaning that no one should be getting used in your decision if they're not being benefited by the decision or if they don't gain anything out of it. So in thinking about fast fashion, if you think about exploitive labor practices such as low pay or unsafe working conditions to make the clothes, this would be considered using the workers as a means to an end, and this is because it would violate their right to respect and dignity. And thinking about the principle of universality and the categorical imperative, this basically states that if I were to make this decision, can I make this a universal law? So the question here would be, should everyone purchase from these brands and support them? And the answer to that would be no, because if everyone bought from these brands, there would be extremely high rates of labor exploitation and high damage to the environment due to carbon emissions, fossil fuels, stuff like that. So from Kant's perspective, the conclusion here would be that it is unethical to support these brands and to purchase from them because it's using others as a means to an end and it cannot be turned into universal law. The next theory that I'm going to be looking at is utilitarianism. So basically the main principles in this theory is to maximize the pleasure and minimize the pain for as many people involved in the decision as possible. And there's a strong emphasis on the outcome of the action rather than the intention, while in theories like deontology, there is a strong emphasis on the intention rather than the outcome. So to do this, there's a huge focus on the hedonistic calculus, which is basically a pros and cons list in kind of what people are affected and who's benefiting from the action and who's not. So some pleasures here would be that consumers have access to trendy clothes without breaking the bank. The business that you're purchasing from gets money and gets support, and in short term, it does give people jobs if there is a demand for these kinds of clothes. However, looking at the pains on the other side, even though it's giving people jobs, these include exploitive labor practices such as unsafe working conditions, low pay, things like that, and severe environmental damage like carbon emissions, pollutions, fossil fuels, things like that. It also contributes to the rise of overconsumption for consumers, especially in today's world. So the conclusion here would probably be that purchasing from fast fashion brands is unethical because the long-term pain, including the exploitive labor practices and environmental damage and overconsumption, outweigh the short-term benefits of the majority, and those short-term benefits would include saving money, being able to keep up with trends, and giving people jobs. The next ethic I'm going to be looking at is virtue ethics. So this ethic was created by Aristotle, and it basically says that the repetition of virtuous actions will in turn lead to virtuous character. There's also an emphasis on finding the golden mean when you're assessing a situation to make a decision, meaning to find a good balance between excess and deficiencies to make sure that you are making the best decision possible. Some possible virtues for the situation with fast fashion are compassion, self-control, and integrity. So for compassion, a deficiency would be mindlessness, the golden mean would be mindfulness, and the excess would be worrisome. When thinking about self-control, the deficiency would kind of be not buying enough. The golden means would be buying things that you need and being rational with your purchases. And an excess would be being greedy and getting too much. And then for integrity, the deficiency, I guess, would be hypocrisy, and just making sure that you're kind of doing what you think others would be doing. The golden mean would be consistency, and the excess would be kind of excessiveness, and getting too much. That kind of goes hand in hand with greed. So the golden means here would be mindfulness, rationality, and also consistency. And the conclusion here would be that purchasing from fast fashion brands is unethical because it does not show compassion for the environment or for other people involved in your decision making. The next theory I'm going to be focusing on is egoism, and this theory is very different compared to the other theories. The principles of this theory basically say that the individual should do whatever benefits them the most in the long run, and the most ethical action is the one that benefits me. Basically, the individual should promote their own self-interest and put themselves first in any ethical situation. So in the context of fast fashion, it might say that the consumer is able to save money and follow trends easily without breaking the bank, and it being very accessible. So unlike the other theories, this ethic is going to say that supporting fast fashion brands is ethical because it is the thing that utilizes the most benefit for the consumer. The final ethical theory I'm going to be looking at today is the ethics of care theory created by Carol Gilligan. So basically this theory says that before making a decision, we should take into consideration everyone that will be impacted by the decision one way or another, whether you know them, just anyone who is involved in the decision itself, and that we have a moral duty to care about the well-being of people affected by our decisions and making sure the decision that we make is responsive, responsible, as well as attentive to all those who are involved. So applying fast fashion to the ethic of care would say that you should care about the workers who have to make the clothes and who are victims of the exploitive labor practices, and also caring about the well-being of the planet and trying to keep the well-being of the planet up for as long as possible. So the conclusion here would state that supporting fast fashion brands is unethical because it fails to take into account caring for other people who are involved in the fast fashion world, along with the environment. To be completely honest, I didn't support these brands for a lot of my life, and then in the past couple years or so, I've kind of been consuming more because I'm constantly having to get clothes for job interviews and events and stuff like that, so I kind of gave into the whole fast fashion industry, but I've never really felt good about it. So after doing all this research for this essay, I've decided that from now on I will no longer be supporting these brands or supporting the fast fashion industry in itself, due to it being terrible for the environment along with the exploitative labor practices of their employees.